I'm going into my 4th year at UC San Diego, studying physiology and neuroscience. I took pre-calculus when I was a student here at Somerville 3 years ago. I took it senior year. How many of you are juniors? Raise your hand. Okay, good. And then how many of you are seniors? Awesome. So, even if you're not planning on taking calculus in high school, pre-calculus is very, very important if you're planning on going straight to a 4-year university. For me, in high school, before Mr. Kamada's class, I never really thought of myself as especially great at math. I was okay. I just kind of went along the whole plug and chug, like, okay, yeah, I know how to do this type of problem. I really relied on my calculator a lot, as most people do, because, if you got it, why not use it, is what I always thought. This class was really, really helpful to me. Even taking the SAT, Mr. Kamada really goes over the basics, at the beginning, fractions, stuff like that. He doesn't let you use your calculator. And at first that seems a little harsh, a little strange, but after taking Mr. Kamada's class, I took the SAT. The second time I took it, my score went up, my math score went up 100 points, or a little over 100 points, just because I was way more familiar with fractions, doing things without a calculator. It was really helpful. I remember when I first started Mr. Kamada's class, me and my friends, and it was really overwhelming, right? He gives these monstrous packets of homework that, it seems kind of impossible at first. They're like this thick. One of them was like 17 pages. I remember that still 3 years later. But that's what you have to do if you really want to learn a subject, is you have to it's all about repetition. Just keep going through those problems over and over and over again. And it gets easier. You guys just started, most of you, your junior year, so you're just starting this class. And right now it probably is a little bit challenging, right? Just getting used to the amount of work that you're doing. But it will definitely get easier as you go along. After I graduated from Somerville, I needed to take a math placement exam because I didn't take the AP Calculus test, because I didn't take AP Calculus. I just took pre-calculus with Mr. Kamada. So I, studied for it a little bit. This class really prepared me, and I went in there with new friends who had already taken calculus and were still taking the exam. I placed straight into the highest calculus that you could, and some of those friends ended up having to take pre-calculus or even algebra 2 over again, because pre-calculus is so important when you're going into calculus or when you're going into college level math. Even if you've taken calculus and you made your way through it and you forgot this basic stuff, this is the stuff that they want to make sure that you know before you take college level math, because it's all this basic stuff, all the trig identities, that when you're doing, derivatives or integrals, if you know that stuff, you can go so much faster through the problems. A typical calculus exam at UCSD will have like 6 questions, but they're multi-part, and they're pretty long. You'll have 50 minutes to do it, and if you don't know your fractions, if you don't know your basic identities, you could be stuck on one problem just for a really long time. And that brings me to the next thing, self-testing. How many of you like to do extra work? Probably nobody. Nobody likes that. That's kind of a pain. But, especially when you get into college level math, you really have to do it if you want to do well. What I would do is I would take my calculus book and I would go through I'd pick like 70 problems, 70 integral problems, and ones that weren't assigned, and I would go through every single one, and then I would check myself with the solutions manual, if you want to buy that. I'd go through and I'd do all of them, and then I would do them a second time, because there are only so many problems. there are only so many problems Mr. Kamada can give you. If you have gone through and done all the problems that you can, chances are, there's always going to be a way to apply previous problems that you've done to new ones that you've never seen before. So that's really important. I actually ended up with an A+ in Calculus 1 and in Calculus 2, and I attribute all of it to this class, because this class is rigorous, it's tough, it'll get you really thinking outside the box on a lot of the problems, because, I remember some of them would be things you hadn't really seen before. You have to apply the knowledge that you do have to figure out, the unknown. Mr. Kamada also wanted me to talk about my experience, just transitioning into college life. When you get into a 4-year university, it's pretty shocking, I guess, just the sheer volume of work that you're up against. You're usually taking 4 classes, sometimes you're taking 3, and that doesn't seem like a lot because, right, you guys are taking 8 classes or something when you're here. And I thought, oh, okay, well, like 4 classes, that really sounds like nothing. That's child's play. It's an insanely ridiculous amount of work that they expect you to be able to do. You get in there, and, at first you're going to feel like you are drowning a little bit. Maybe you guys feel that way sometimes in this class. I know I felt that way. But if you come in prepared, you come in knowing your pre-calculus, especially if you plan on doing anything in the sciences, because you're going to need it for physics, you're going to need it for chemistry, you're going to need it for pretty much any science-related major that you do. If you come in knowing that stuff, it saved me so much time not having to go back and re-look at, identities, just being able to say, okay, yeah, the tangent of this is that, or, sine of this is that. You have to be able to just recall that stuff pretty quickly. And also, calculus is really fun, I think, personally, kind of math nerd. But I think it's a lot like puzzle solving, and it really builds, you get this information in pre-calculus, and you can really build off of that, and you just sit there, and it's like you're solving a puzzle, you take something, and you're like, okay, I'm going to use the trig identities to transform it into this, so that I can cut it into that, so that I can take the integral more easily, and it's super fun. You guys are really going to like it a lot if you take it. So pretty much that's what I wanted to talk about. This class, might seem pretty challenging, but at the end of the day, this is what's really going to make you stand out when you get into college. Does anybody have any questions about anything? Yes.
How much time for every hour of class that you're in with an instructor do you spend outside of class studying?
Oh, right. Well, obviously it depends on the class, but for calculus in particular, I took one of the courses over the summer, and I had to spend a lot of time. Probably for every 1 hour in class, it was like 5 hours of studying. If you take it during the regular quarter, maybe every 1 hour in class is maybe 4 hours of studying outside of class. And I mean, some people obviously don't do that, but then they fail the class, and then they have to take it again, and that just is too bad for them. But yeah, it's an adjustment, but, if you find study groups, that's also really fun, because you can get together and compare how you did certain problems. The nice thing about pre-calculus is it applies for all those classes, physics, chemistry. It transfers over to pretty much everything. So if you can get this stuff down, you're going to nail the SAT, you're going to nail your placement exam, and you're going to have a much better time when you get into college. You won't be struggling as much as the kids who didn't pay attention maybe in pre-calculus. So does anybody have any questions about college or math or anything? Yes?
Are there any other different ways to study for math than besides doing problems?
There are. You can go, a lot of the times, if there's something difficult, you can go on Khan Academy and you can watch other people do problems. You can go through and see how somebody else solves it. You can go on YouTube. There will always be so many examples. Like, oh, how to take the integral of this, how to find the derivative for this. You can go through and watch those if that helps you, if you're more of a visual learner. And then after that, you can try to do some on your own. And usually people find that, that's really helpful if they're visual. There are always resources at the college. You can go in, you can talk to tutors for free, usually. I know that's the case at UCSD. So you just go in, hey, I just need help with this problem. For me, my first Calculus 1, I kind of just did it on my own. I didn't ever go talk to a tutor. Calculus 2, I would actually go in sometimes and talk to my professor. It's really helpful because sometimes they'll even give you hints about what's important indirectly. You kind of have to be able to code. It's like, okay, what is he telling me I should focus on? And usually that's going to be what appears on an exam. So if you don't like just doing a bunch of problems, you can watch people do them. You can go in and have your instructor explain a problem to you, go through it. But at the end of the day, you have to do some problems. I do it just a ton, but I'm kind of one of those learners that's like, if I do a problem multiple times, it sticks in my head, and I can remember exactly how I did it, and I can take that and I can apply it to something else. Does anybody else have any questions? Yes.
How did you manage your time, like, and not get distracted?
Oh man, that's the hardest part when you first get into college. It gets easier as you go. What I would do is I would make a little schedule that said, okay, this is how many hours, or I wouldn't even do it in hours, I would do it in amount. Like, today I want to get through problems 1 through 30 for math, 1 through 30 for chemistry, whatever, write however many pages of whatever paper, and then I would make sure throughout that day that I would get those done. Other people I know actually will make they'll go online and you can click in schedule builder or something like that, and they'll actually make little block schedules with blocks of time. Like, this block of time is dedicated to chemistry. This block is dedicated to this. You just have to remember, I guess, at the end of the day, in college, nobody is sitting there, nobody is forcing you to do your homework. Usually, with my math classes, our homework would be due once a week. It would be due on Fridays. You'd go turn it in. So you have to kind of, really manage your time and make yourself sit down through the week. Make yourself do those problems every day, because the people who would wait till the last day and just do it all at once, they would turn it in and then they would find that they didn't really absorb any of it. They didn't give themselves time. And, usually they'd get a bad grade too, because, they rushed through stuff, they missed details. Time management, I guess I'm kind of rambling on right now. It's a big deal. I think you have to just kind of find what works best for you. There are lots of different ways. I like to make a list. Just say, I want to do this much of this or this much of that. Any other questions? No? All right.
One more. What about the competition at the school?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, when I was here at Somerville, I hung out with a pretty competitive crowd. All of my friends, they wanted to be top of the class. They were really academic, and I thought, okay, yeah, I can't really get much more competitive than it is here, my friends here. You get to state school, UC, these kids, some of them are insane. Some of them do not leave their rooms. Some of them will study all day, and I don't think that's healthy. I'm not advocating that at all. You need to have fun. You need to join some clubs. But you really do need to make time to study too. It's all about balancing things, I think, but definitely a way more competitive atmosphere. You get in there, all these kids, especially at UCSD, everybody wants to be a doctor. So they are just competing at the highest level. I took a chemistry class over the summer, and this friend that I made, he was so funny. He was so competitive. All he would talk about was just like, I need to get an A in this class. If I don't get an A in this class, I am gonna drop this class, take it again, because my dream is to go to Harvard Medical School. So these kids are very competitive, very serious, and I'm sure you guys can all be that way too. I'm sure you guys will be top of your classes once you get there. It's all about, he was saying, time management. If you put in the time, you set aside the time to do your homework, do your stuff, you can have a fun college experience and also get stellar grades on top of that. It's always the goal, is to make sure to just balance it out. Good grades, good social life. It's possible. Hard, but it is possible. Anything else? Any questions about college or UCSD? Anybody want to go to UCSD?
Oh.
No. You? Really?
Yeah.
It's a great school, definitely.
Good weather.
Oh, the weather is beautiful year round. We had some rain last week, and that was really unusual. But since we need the rain, we're okay with it. Yeah, it was raining here, it was raining there, it was raining everywhere. Not usual though. Yes.
Do you actually eat tons of top ramen?
No. That's a big myth. Although I guess during the summer, I was living on campus and I had a dining hall plan, and it was UCSD. Have you been there yet?
No, not to the campus. but
Okay.
in the city.
It's a really, really big campus. And they only had 2 dining halls open, and they were all the way across, so it's like a 20-minute walk to get to the food. So I did eat a lot of rice over the summer, but I also really just like rice. I think that might be more to do with it than, you know, anything else. I don't know anybody who mostly just survives off of top ramen. You know, in my dad's day, I know he said that's what he did, but no. You know, we have grocery stores, or most colleges will have grocery stores that are a short walk away, and as long as you budget things correctly, you can eat healthy. If you're gonna live on campus first year, I would try to get a dining plan, because it just makes things so much more simple. You can stay on campus, you can go eat with your friends, do homework there if you want. It just makes life easier, especially I did that first and second year, so. Anything else? Yes.
Are you on a semester or quarter system?
Quarter system.
Do you like it?
I really like it a lot because, you know, you're able to get through way more stuff, or way more classes. You take like 4 classes a semester. You're on the quarter system, you're doing 3 quarters and you're taking like 3 or 4 classes a quarter. So I feel like you end up, well, it just kind of depends. You take a lot more classes. Some of them though, it'll be, you know, you have to take 3 calculus classes instead of, you know, 2 on the semester system. But with fun classes, like electives, it's cool because you get to kind of just choose, and it's not like, oh, I can't take this elective because that'll put me behind. Because you have more quarters, so you can choose, and you can be like, oh, I'm gonna take this quarter. It's like a buffet. I do, because I'll see a class and I'll be like, oh wow, like human nutrition. That just sounds like really cool, and then I'll take it. And it doesn't do anything for me, but it's like I'm on the quarter system. That's okay. Anything else? Yes.
What made you choose your major?
You know, I have always loved science. It was actually kind of difficult choosing my major, I'm not gonna lie. I actually went in, I started as a marine biology major, and then somewhere along the line, I kind of got a taste of what the marine biologists at UCSD do, and there are lots of them, and they're more tied to the university, and they'll write grants for themselves, but their research, they mostly just sit in their labs and do research, and it's like, oh, that's not as exciting as I thought it was. I took that nutrition class for fun, and I was like, oh, this stuff is really cool. I really like human biology stuff. So then I was like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna like follow this lead. I'm gonna take a physiology class to see, you know, do I like that? So I took a physiology class, and it was the funnest class I've ever taken, because everything is just so applicable. And you're like, oh, that's how that works, and oh, that's why, you know, I do this or that, or like my reflexes, you know, stuff like that. And then I was like, you know what, I really like this stuff. I want to major in physiology and neuroscience. And now I'm trying to decide, you know, from there, if I want to go to medical school. So now I just started volunteering at a hospital down there. So it's really cool so far. I'm gonna follow up, kind of see where it leads me. But with bio, there's just so much you can do. You know, you want to be a doctor? Yeah, go ahead, apply for medical school. You could be a vet, you could be a dentist, you could be a PA, you could be a researcher, you could be a high school teacher. It's, you know, kind of unlimited options. That's what I like about it. So yeah, I mean, I haven't really I think I want to go to medical school, but, you know, I'm keeping all of my options wide open. Anybody else? Any questions? No? All right, well, thanks for letting me kind of ramble at you guys today.
Thank
It
you.
was fun,
Thanks for
yeah.
talking.
Of course.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.